Alright, so we're working on a 2003 Ford F-250 V10 6.8 liter. This is crank no start. So we have a brand new battery that the owner bought. I believe they also replaced the fuel pump, but I was told that the fuel pump wasn't getting power. I have not verified that yet. So far I've just done a visual inspection and I have the scan tool hooked up. First thing that I did notice was the belt. That needs to be replaced. I mean, this truck is just beat up. I don't have the mileage yet. I have not acquired that yet. And I'm not able to communicate actually with the truck, so I can't even scan the PCM. So anyway, I'm going to try to crank it. That way you guys can hear it. And I have no movement on my tach either. So I don't know if none of these gauges look like they're working. The radio works.
There's accountability.
Light panel works, but we have a No-Comm right now. I'm not sure what's happening. So what I like to do normally is so this basically isn't giving me much information. I could check each one of these and go in here to see just in case if there's any you never know if there's any data stored in any of these modules. So it doesn't give me much information at all. I can't even bring up so I can communicate with only, it looks like a couple modules on here, and for some reason the PCM, when I was scanning it, it popped up and then it went away. So I'll have to figure out what's going on with this truck. So before I had the truck towed over, I was told by the owner that the vehicle had stalled on them. They were on a short trip running an errand, they were on their way home, the truck just stalled. Therefore they called a friend, and I believe that they just replaced the fuel pump, and I saw some relays, brand new battery, and what I did see when I first went over, they had this fuse panel popped off. Of course, it's all put back together now. Oops. But they had the panel popped off. And then they had a jumper wire. Okay, so they were jumping something when I first arrived to the vehicle because none of this was mounted, and they had a jumper wire. I didn't see where they had it connected to. It fell out when I opened that door. Anyways, I don't know what they did or what they were jumping. And look at that right there. must have been jumping something in there. I don't know what the hell they were doing. Anyway, that's a problem right there. Let me see what that... Fuse 3030, fuse 116. Course forward. Okay, so we'll have to see what that blue one is. I'll zoom in on this. So I didn't see that when I first was inspecting the vehicle. However, when I first drove over, the battery was under, I believe, 4 volts. It was maybe only at 2 volts. So the battery was sulfated. And I didn't have my jump pack with me. Therefore, I couldn't do too much with the vehicle. Okay, so according to Mitchell, and if I read this right, so this is fuse number, okay, 116. And I pulled it up on Mitchell, and this goes to the ignition switch. So I don't remember, I think the jumper, this probably what the hell they were doing. So the other thing that I noticed when I was down here checking out this panel is they replaced, it looks like they replaced this fuse here, possibly this one here, and I think that was all I've seen for now. I believe they also replaced a relay. I saw some relays up on the dash when I first drove over. However, this fuse is, I think, number 12 or 6. Let me check this panel. So they replaced numbers 12 and number 6 is what it looks like they replaced to me. These look like some cheap dollar store shit fuses. So now I do have a No-Comm right now, and my phone will bring it up. I'll have to probably plug it in. However, number 12 is your data relay connector. Alright, so that's so far what I found, just doing some visual inspections on the vehicle without doing too much diagnosis. Like I said, so far I've only cranked the vehicle, done a visual inspection, hooked up the scan tool. I cannot communicate with the PCM, and the knowledge that I had prior was this thing stalled, and now it's a no start. It does crank. And they were in here digging in around, and they did replace, I guess, the fuel pump, like I said, and the battery, and it looks like they were also in here digging around with whatever fuses, and they were jumping stuff. So that's where we're at so far. Alright, so what I did was I told them about that fuse, and I plugged it back in, but while I was waiting for that part, I did come in here and I did get the PCM ready. So I'm already back probed. That's your ground. I think there's like 3 grounds, so I'm back probed into the grounds, and the power's on the PCM. So this was a No-Comm at first, and I did that just in case there was any problems, because like I said, I saw a jumper wire, so I had no idea what was happening. So while I was waiting for the fuse, I hopped in there and got back probed into the PCM just in case. Off camera, I've already done this. And there we go.
Saw that in Spain, or seeing it again in Austin?
And we do have a check engine light, so we can pull codes now and communicate with the PCM. So I should be able to access that monitor. Alright, so I'm going to try entering the VIN manually. I'm going to pause this and get that entered. So I just entered the vehicle's VIN manually off camera. For some reason it won't do the auto detect on this vehicle. .8 liter, yes. It sounds like a door actuator. Okay, so now prior to this, I was not able to access the PCM module. So, usually on a crank no start, I would attack this differently. However, there was a no-comm with the PCM, so we need to fix that fault first before we can go any further. But now that we have this module, we can go in here, read the codes, key on, edge and off, self-demand test. That's the one we want. Yes, it's on. Ignition switch is on. Okay, so there we go. We have a stored P0231 fuel pump secondary circuit low. The P0231, I do know a lot of these vehicles have been getting issues with either the fuel pumps or the relay. So I just found out that this truck also had the alternator replaced. So it now had an alternator, a fuel pump, a new battery. It looks like they replaced a couple more fuses, and maybe 1, 2, 3, this one. So we need to do a little bit more work, and I need to verify with the customer exactly what happened with these fuses and why they were blown in the first place and what was going on with that. However, right now, we could go back out of here and we could check the fuel pump with bi-directional control. We should be able to. And there we go. We have fuel pump. We will grab. We don't need much. I like to see fuel pressure, of course. That would be nice. Let me see. Okay, fuel pump fault. Yes. Fuel pump. We'll do fuel level. Why not? Fuel pump monitor. Alright, I'm not interested in these right now, so we'll just use those pits right now. I want to see what's going on, if we're getting power to the pump and if the pump is activating or not. So right now the truck is still a no start. let's verify. So we're at about a quarter of a tank, and this is saying 18%. Okay, first off, let's listen. I'm gonna hit the on-off button for the fuel pump. We're gonna simultaneously listen to the relay up in here. It's actually behind here. It's built into this circuit board, and that was an awesome job, huh? So we're gonna listen to that, and I want to see if we hear a hum or anything from the actual pump itself down in the tank. So here we go. I'm gonna turn on the on button. You should hear a click. So that was on and off. I'll do it one more time. So just because we have that relay functioning, it doesn't mean that it's making its contact. We could still have an issue with the relay. So we do need to check powers and grounds with that as well. Let's listen for the fuel pump. Alright, so here is our fuel tank. And I'm going to do the same thing twice. I'm going to turn it on and then off. On. Now off. I'm going to do that one more time. On. Scan tool shows on. Off. Okay, so we have a new fuel pump, new alternator, new fuses, new battery. I'm not sure if they replaced anything else yet, but I'm gonna call them up in a moment and get some more information, and then we're gonna do some more verification on the powers and grounds going to that fuel pump. So I pulled out the fuse box or central junction box, whatever you want to call it. It's just 4 bolts. And I also brought down the inertia switch because I wanted to check power at that. So what I have hooked up, I have my Vantage hooked up. So since we're not getting power to the fuel pump, okay, so right now we're key on, engine off. So I have my negative lead running to the negative side of the battery. And right now, I'll just show you guys on camera. So I am back probed into the green wire right now, which is our power supply, and I have nothing in this pink and black. Nothing. And I have nothing on that one as well. So even when I cycle the key and I check the voltage on each of these, this is what I see. Now, so the inertia switch, it does function, so if I tap on it hard, it will set, and I will have to press it back in. So I'm not worried about that at the moment. What I am worried about is our power supply. Okay, so I'm going to check that green wire right there as well. So that's our power. So we should have power coming in and power coming out to that switch. Okay, so I'm going to back probe into our power supply for the fuel pump. Okay, as you can see, we have 12 volts that just popped up. Now I do have my scan tool connected. Alright, sorry for the audio difference here. I somehow lost the audio during recording for this part, so you may have to turn it down or turn up the volume. Either way, I apologize. So what I'm basically doing is, while I'm back probed into the power supply for the fuel pump relay, I am keeping my scan tool connected. That way I could try to actuate the fuel pump, and basically I'm just looking for a change in voltage while I do that. So you have 3 wires. When I pulled up the wiring diagram, it said for the fuel pump relay you have which is going to be hot at all times. So from the PCM you're going to have actually a light blue and I believe orange on, I believe, the control side, and I believe the switch side will be your dark green and yellow. So I will be back probing into those, and those are the ones that you're going to want to look for. I didn't do so well of a job showing that on this part, but most of this stuff is like common sense. So once you start seeing your dark green and yellow wire, that's the one that you want to follow. And like I said, I believe the control side, I think it was light blue and orange. Okay, so once you verify that you have power coming in, but we have no power obviously going out, then we're going to know our fault is with that internal relay. So if I'm correct, I believe the owner actually replaced all of these relays in here as well. If I'm correct, I believe they replaced these relays as well to try to fix this fault with this truck. However, the relays that they were replacing were the wrong ones. So basically, I verified that I have power coming in. I don't have power going out to the inertia switch, and I have no power at the fuel pump. So my issue is actually within this central junction box, and it's the eternal relay that's going to be the problem. That 20 amp fuse, that's hot at all times. It doesn't look like they damaged anything at the moment with their jumper wire. So I'm not concerned about the PCM. And as of right now, I am condemning this central junction box, so that's what I'm going to tell the owner to replace. Okay, so after I just called them and let them know they need to replace the fuel pump relay, they told me they did replace the fuel pump relay. The one I'm trying to zoom on in back in that back corner, I guess, that was the assumption that that's the location of the fuel pump relay. However, that is not your fuel pump relay. Like I said, the fuel pump relay is integrated into that junction box. So that's another relay that's now been replaced. So that's possibly anywhere from 3 to up to 6 relays now that's been replaced. So this truck had a lot of parts thrown at it. Honestly, it's just money that was wasted. Alright, so we got a new fuse box. It's actually a remanufactured. So we ordered it from FordFusebox.com. It arrived in about 2 days. So there's the old one, and I installed the new one. So not too difficult to install. Just transfer everything over. I guess there's a core on this one, so this one's gonna get shipped back. And so it was the relay that was the problem with this truck, and I'll go ahead and start it for you guys. So I'm going to put everything back to own.
Mother has been forced to block it.
There we go, no check engine light. I need to mount that back together, but this thing is almost ready to go back to the owner. But they do have signs of water. So I was told that the vehicle does have leaks, of course, and they do have signs of water. Looks like intrusion. Therefore, there's a bunch of corrosion in there. Anyways, if you guys are having a problem with the vehicle, like I said, they did already replace the fuel pump, the alternator, and the battery. A bunch of external relays, and I believe they replaced some relays back in there. However, when I first connected my scan tool, I questioned the owner about that fuse, and they didn't know what to tell me about it. The whole case here was popped off, and they had a jumper wire, and they were toying around in there. So therefore, once we got communication back with the PCM, yeah, I had no power going anywhere to the inertia switch, even down to the fuel pump, and we had power coming in to our relay box. So we knew, and I had already checked the powers and grounds, and I had already checked the PCM, so we had no problems there. So our fault was with the internal relay inside the box, and that's an easy repair, something that I could do. However, it's something that I choose not to do because I'm not going to warranty that repair. So this way is a little better for me and the customer. But if it was my own vehicle, which I have done on my Dodge, they have the same thing. I've already done that. It's just not something that I'm going to offer at the moment. Anyways, thanks for watching, and that'll complete this repair on this vehicle.